Hello, in this video I am going to explain what a mortgage broker is and what a mortgage broker does. So if you don't know what a mortgage is, feel free to check out my videos covering mortgage interest rates, that sort of stuff, repayment plans, and feel free to come back. Basically, just to recap, a mortgage is usually a long term loan, usually for the most part, for like some sort of property, like a house, for example. That's the one that most people will be aware of. Is if you're in a house, you probably don't have enough money at that given time, so you get a loan. So you're borrowing money from the bank and you pay them back with interest, hence why they lend you. Okay, so what a broker is, first of all, I want to get a definition of the word broker. I've already Googled it, and I would like to get like the etymology of it and the exact sort of meaning. So broker comes from the Anglo-Norman French word broker, and broker, there's a couple of different definitions. As a noun, a person who buys and sells goods or assets for others. That's not bad, but this is the one I really like in the case of mortgages: arrange or negotiate an agreement. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, so what are they negotiating? So basically, they negotiate your mortgage. So what the purpose of a mortgage broker is, they go out and find the best deal, and this is based on interest rate. That's usually the biggest one: interest rate, term, that sort of stuff. It's based on your situation. Based on your situation. So if, let's say, you run a business, banks, generally speaking, are less likely to lend you money. So unfortunately, even if you're earning a lot of money, they usually are more favorable to people that have a regular 9 to 5 job, because they see that as a more secure investment. That's what it is for the bank, a more secure investment. So there will be certain banks that literally just won't lend to business people. So you might be thinking, okay, still, why do I need to go through a broker? This is generally what happens when you first get a mortgage. If you go directly to the bank, you would have like a long, usually like 2 hour or so, 2 hours on the phone, and this is what is called a strategy call. And if you're doing that with a bank, and then at the end they're like, nah, we can't lend to you because based on the last bit of information that you've given us, it's just not suitable, for whatever reason. Doesn't mean you can't get a mortgage. It just means that particular bank, their criteria doesn't match your circumstance. It's pretty time consuming if you're having to do that 2 or 3 or even more times with banks. Whereas a mortgage broker is going to do this type of strategy call or something along those lines. But what they have a database of hundreds of mortgages from banks, and they also know the bank's criteria. So let's say there are 100 banks, and 40 of them will not lend to business owners. And again, that's just a very basic example. There could be multiple reasons why a particular bank or banks might not lend to you, and if you're having to waste your time to go through the process of doing this, then that's very time consuming. The mortgage broker will know that 60 will, and they'll only approach those. And then they'll actually, dwindle it down even further, based on your scenario. If you've taken out potentially any loans in the past, if you have some sort of grant scheme from the government, certain, because you can get, a corona, COVID grants now in the UK. I've read that certain banks will not lend to you if you basically got that grant or some other situation. So they'll know exactly, okay, these are the banks that will lend to you, and based on your situation, these are the ones that are probably going to be the best interest rates and the best term for you. They'll contact those few banks, they'll get an answer from them, and then they'll come back to you with what is just, it's not a offer per se, it's like the official term, I can't remember what it is, but it's like a preliminary offer. This is basically an offer without any checks done by the bank. And then once they got this, they'll ask you, are you happy with these terms? Do you want them to go ahead and actually try and get this mortgage for you? So they will obviously communicate with the bank, and all of this you can do within 10 minutes or so. It might be over a 2 or 3 calls, so it could be 20, 30, or even an hour, but that strategy call will usually only be about 10 or so minutes. They'll be able to get a few pieces of information. There are some mortgage brokers out there that have an online portal where you can put all the information, and then they'll say they found X amount of mortgages or banks, that could potentially lend to you, and do you want to proceed? And then you'll get, a mortgage broker, you'll get a case advisor, etc., etc. You get different people that will be helping you. The other benefit of going through a mortgage broker is, instead of the bank constantly coming at you and asking for this, and this, the mortgage broker will communicate with the bank. If they've already got it on record, they'll just give it them. So you're not constantly getting disturbed, in your work day. Because obviously they're only communicating via in the weekday. They will also make sure that, because the other thing is, what a mortgage broker usually says to you is, give them the least amount of information so they can give the bank the least amount of information required. So, because obviously sometimes it can hurt your chances if you give too much information. So the bank or the mortgage broker will almost word it in a certain way. It's like, what about this or what about that? And you can talk with them before the bank's got it, because once the bank's got certain information, you can't go back. You can't go back at all. So with the mortgage broker, they'll assess that and see what needs to be given, and what sort of format would be best for the bank. So in terms of the broker, do you pay them? Are they free? They are free ones and paid. So you might think thinking paid is definitely going to be better. Honestly, from what I've read, that's not necessarily the case. The free ones are great as well. The free ones do get paid. I think it's called a procurement fee, and that fee gets charged from the bank. The bank will give that to the mortgage broker. I think it's called a procurement fee. Procurement fee, like a fee to actually recommend, get you as a client for the bank, and they'll give that fee to the mortgage broker. And here's the catch: whether they offer a free or paid service, they're getting that procurement fee regardless. So if they charge you, they charge you on top of the procurement fee. So if they give you a mortgage, they never not get paid. They all get paid. So that's why it's like they're still getting paid. So they are free ones that will be very good. So this is the benefit. The other thing is, they'll be able to go to banks that you would not have thought of or even heard of, because they have access to hundreds of banks and hundreds of mortgage deals. They might go to a bank, like a friend of mine that got a house last year. The bank that they recommended, the best for the situation, was an Irish bank. You wouldn't think, let's go and apply to an Irish bank. Because I'm in the UK, we're in the UK. You can't just, go to Ireland and go into their branch. You can't do that. They can, talk to them and see what, deals they have. As an individual, probably would only go to the, what's called the high street banks, the banks that you see on the high street in, your town, your city, your village, wherever you are. And, the ones like HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, TSB, those ones. But a lot of the time, those may not be the best for your scenario to get the best interest rate for you. and they are usually a lot stricter than some of the other banks. As long as they're regulated, it honestly doesn't really matter. So there is that as well. They'll be able to go to banks that you won't have heard of or you won't even think about applying to. The other thing is a mortgage broker will have exclusive deals with the banks. So because they're basically partner with the banks and they have a agreement that they obviously they're getting them clients, they'll sometimes have deals that you just can't get if you go to your high street bank and have a meeting with them and try and get the mortgage directly from them. So sometimes the deal you can't even get from a regular bank, whether it's a high street bank or some other bank that you'll communicate over the phone or via the internet, you might not be able to get the deal. So what does the mortgage broker do? Let's recap. Mortgage broker will essentially, based on your situation, based on your details, they'll find you the best bank, the best mortgage deal that they can get in terms of interest rate and terms. They'll help explain some of the jargon to you as well, which can be good, obviously, because some of it can just go over a lot of people's heads. They'll explain what's involved. They'll keep you up to date. They'll chase the banks up. So that's their job. A good mortgage broker will chase the bank up. So instead of you thinking, it's been a week or 2 weeks or however long, you haven't heard anything, they'll chase them up. You can chase the mortgage broker up if you want to, and then they'll probably, they'll give them a kick up the backside even more to chase the banks up. But they, you will usually chase the banks up as well. So yeah, that's a mortgage broker. They help get you a mortgage. They take the stress and the the time required to get one away as well. So in terms of free versus paid, I would probably recommend free. There are good ones out there. You can just Google it. If you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord group. There's over 4,000 members on there now. There's a bunch of finance channels, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.